How's everyone doing this morning? Good. Amazing. I'm going to pop this in here for a second. Amazing. So, before we dive in to talking about community building, I'd like to introduce myself a little bit more than my bio and talk about a few things that I'm passionate about. My name is Jess Garcia, as you heard before. My pronouns are they, them. I identify as a queer, trans, biracial human who's ex-evangelical, but deeply spiritual. I'm a big people person. I'm really quite extroverted, as your music team has already figured out. And I love diving deep with strangers who often eventually become friends, as Larry and I did, even though Corin was like, we gotta go, guys, on Wednesday night. And we were like, it's fine, we're just gonna hang out here and chat for a bit. I can't imagine what my life would be like without music, let alone worship. Worship has been in my life since I can remember. My mom was a worship leader at the church growing up, and my dad was on sound team, so I knew what an XLR cable was when I was like 4 years old, anyone in audio. So music has been with me and through me my entire life. I'm a pastor, music, film, and podcast producer, storyteller, entrepreneur, spouse, and in all these things, I'm a community builder. An example of one of the community-based organizations that I've helped to foster is called Queer Fire. I'm the spiritual director of Queer Fire LA and the executive director of the organization. Queer Fire is a restorative, spiritual monthly gathering for queer, trans, and questioning folks. And I did not copy and paste our mission because I forgot, so I will pull it up really quickly. Our mission is to partner with churches, nonprofits, and community organizations to create safer spiritual spaces for building intentional queer community and healing from religious trauma. Every gathering starts around a bonfire with good food. Guided by a leader, we walk through a spiritual theme, and each person is invited to share. Space is held for each person's past experiences, and we end the night feeling less alone and inspired to face a new day. Now that you know a little bit about me and my background, I'd like to bring the Queer Fire style and experience to you. This will be a little different than your normal style of pastor gives a sermon. It's not really my vibe. My vibe is conversational. This will be a collaborative conversation. So that's me telling you right now that we will eventually be sharing. And if you don't want to share on mic, that's fine. You can share, and then I will repeat what you have to say. One of the things that I often say when entering into these conversations is to please remember the imaginary sharing stick. Does everyone know what a sharing stick is? Yes? Okay, cool. It's something I think we start to learn in like kindergarten and preschool, and then we continue to learn as we get older and we find our voices. We want to be mindful of our neighbors who might have more to share, and especially those that are a little bit shy. So it's okay if there are moments of quiet. We can always learn and grow from each other. I want to start how I often start with a little word association game. What are some words? I'm going to now take this out, and for anyone doing video, I apologize, because I'm going to move. What are some words that come to mind when you think of the word community? Love, safety, together. Love, safety, together. Can I ask you to write these down on your phone? Do you mind? Mission. Work. Yes. Support, I heard. Church. Absolutely. Anybody else? What did you say? Dependence. I heard something else. Friends. Very good. Partnership. Collaboration. These are good, guys. You guys are good at this. Anchoring. Wow, that's good. I like that. Local. You touched on something there for me. I love that. Wayne? What? Volunteers. I love the laugh that happens when volunteers is said around the word community, because it's like, it's a hard one. It's a hard one. I want to give space before I move on to the next question. Anybody else? Comfort. Yes. Comfort in community. That is beautiful. Belonging. Sorry, I'm making you work. Thank you. That's amazing. All right, we're going to switch our mindset a little bit. What are some words that feel like the opposite of community to you all? Exclusion, which means inclusion, should be in the community. Loneliness. Rejection. Friction. Hypocrisy. Ostracism. Prejudice. Whew. Yes, fear. Absolutely fear. Condemnation. Yes. Inflexibility. That's good. Such a good point. And it's interesting because I think inflexibility finds its way into both spaces, right? Isolation. Bullying, yeah. I feel like it's probably easier than we'd like to admit for this community to be answering this question. There's so many of us that I'm sure have experienced these exact things that we're naming, being pushed out and trying to find a space. The next question that I have, it might be a little more work, a little more work than word association. So now we're diving in just a little deeper. The question is, why do we need community? And I'm going to give you guys a minute to sit with this question. While you sit with it, I'm going to share. And again, the question is, why do we need community? I heard a non-binary Mennonite pastor recently talk about how in some Hebrew text, the word for love and community were interchangeable. To me, this makes a lot of sense. Growing up, I always heard God is love. Imagine thinking of God as community. First time that I heard that, I sat there. It was on a podcast, and I was driving a long distance, and I just went, what? It made sense of everything that I've been, that my heart has been on, for community. And I just said, wait a second, I had to press pause. I don't know about you guys, but sometimes for me, when I hear a new concept, hear something that's so, it might ring true logically, and my heart rings true for it, but sometimes I'm like, whoa, it's already gone. It's already, like, it goes against what I've been programmed, right, to believe. So I go, wait a second, okay, wait, let me hear that again. So I legitimately rewound this podcast and listened to him say it about 5 times because I was struggling to grasp this concept that I was like, wait a second, if God is love, then God is community. And something that I've always been really passionate about is talking about how when we're together as humans, it doesn't have to be in a church context, but especially in spiritual context, we are having a unique experience right now. Every individual in this place is getting to experience God in a way that they will never experience God again, because we are made in the image of God. We are made in the sacred image of God, and because of that, God is speaking through us and is within us. And so when we look at each other and when we're talking to each other and when we're engaging with each other, we're going, I see God in you. And so we're having this unique experience of the beauty and diversity and inclusiveness and incredibleness of God. So of course the next sentence makes sense, that God is community. And I love it. And it just, it makes me, it fills my heart up that God is able to be and is fully present in this place because we are here engaging with each other. All right, we're going to come back to that question. Why do we need community?
I can tell you why my husband and I needed community. We are seniors. We are at the age where making new friends is difficult. Many of our friends have died, some of them 40 years ago and some of them more recently. Those who haven't died have moved away. One of the known byproducts, as it were, of old age is loneliness. And while, of course, being married, we are not alone, we did find ourselves feeling bereft of, here comes the word, community. And we wandered into this church a little under 3 years ago, and we've just been community backward, forward, and upside down. With many of the words, both positive and negative, that have been thrown out, we have faced here, but mostly we have experienced a good deal of love. We have made friends, friendships that we cherish, and we have worked our collective ass off, and we've loved all of it.
One word that was not said, but you just said it basically right now, is work. Community is work. Was it? I missed it. Okay. Community is work. Check the list. Should have had the list. Anybody else? I loved that. Thank you so much for sharing that. Awesome. I'll come to you. I can exercise.
Community is acceptance. As an ally, I did not feel safe and accepted in my former church, and I couldn't be my authentic self there as an ally. So that's what it is, safety and acceptance.
It's good. Yeah, it is family. Why do we need community?
I think we need community to disabuse ourselves of our judgmental self. To learn in community how to relate to other people in a safe environment. Because we all come to community with biases that we're not even aware of. And we learn here how to safely engage with others and to be able to listen and dialogue and let go of our old prejudices.
Was that Lenny? So true. It's absolutely true. Something that I actually had listed down is this idea that it's basically patience. and learning to be vulnerable and share and also lean in when there is a disagreement or we're just maybe not on the same page and I need to lean in and ask more questions. And that's required of everyone, regardless of your generation or your background, if you want to be in community with each other.
I grew up in this church, or at least my teenage and early college years, and I left in the 70s. But I lost my wife at the end of 2013, and I came back to this church because of the community, the comfort and the support that the community provides.
That's really good. What was your name? Kevin. Thank you, Kevin. Everyone else has had name tags, which I think is wonderful. Anyone else feeling called to share? Amazing.
I love what I've heard so far, so thank you. And I come to community for the mirroring that, there's been a lot of changes in my own life in the past 4 or 5 years, and to come in and process in a safe space, to be able to say what I'm feeling, and also to look at the similarities with everybody, not the differences, because we are all so much more alike if we can just open our mouth and speak. And because it's a safe place, if I can speak my truth without judging myself, then somebody else can go, oh yeah, me too, or share their own experience, strength, and hope. And so I'm super grateful for that.
Now I have help at home all the time, but there was a time when I didn't, and I was alone until I came to church, and saw people who knew me, and also it's very hard to put into the mind of people who don't go to this church that there's such a thing as a liberal church. They don't know what a liberal church is. They assume that I'm going to get in trouble if I say something, that doesn't work for them. And it's also hard to explain that we're Protestants, not Catholics. They say, oh, are you going to Mass? I say, no, Catholics go to Mass. I'm going to the service.
I was never good at keeping track of any of that stuff. According to my background, no one else was Christian other than us. So, yes, definitely not Catholics for whatever reason. And my mom was raised Catholic. Some of the things that I feel are kind of being touched on, we're definitely talking about there's like a theme of what do we need. So we need community, so I showed up. I was in need, I was lonely. I was hurting, I was grieving, and I showed up. Does anyone identify with the feeling of needing community because, not just for loneliness, but because you felt a need, a purpose, like desiring purpose? Did anyone feel the need to walk into church or into a community space outside of church because you wanted purpose? They give you purpose, it's true. Wayne? Here, let me...
I think it's a very lonely place to just be one voice. So to come together as in a shared mission and to go out into the world and actually be able to multiply that one voice into many voices, all with the same goal. There's a lot going on right now, so it's much more valuable to be around people that have a shared goal.
I don't know if anyone else experienced this. We have a couple of references. Thank you, Wayne. We had a couple of references to old church experiences, and one of the things that I found was true about the church experience for me growing up was that everyone had to basically look and feel the same. And I was in a white evangelical space, and I was biracial, and I felt it. I felt very clearly that I was not like everyone else. And I didn't know what that was. And it was named that I was just the class clown. And I mean, I was a little bit of the class clown. But that I was quickly, often, me and my siblings, blamed for whatever wrongdoing happened in the group of kids. And I didn't understand what that was until I probably hit my 30s and then realized, oh, it's called racism. It's really weird. I'm like, what? That was wild. But it's interesting for people who come from those backgrounds and experiences where everything was supposed to be uniform and you were all supposed to think and feel the same, and if you didn't fall in line, you were pushed out. To come into a space where inclusiveness is celebrated and diversity is celebrated, but still it is a challenge to remember that diversity of thought should also be celebrated. Diversity of spirituality, diversity of musical preference and background. As a music leader and worship leader, I find that to have been one of my hardest challenges when leading in churches. I was coming together on that. All right. I think we've kind of touched on this, but when is community essential? And I want you to think about recent history. When is community essential? Oh, I'm going to start here and then I'll bring it right to you.
When we need to establish an effective resistance.
What was your name? Stephen. Thank you, Stephen. Establishing resistance. I'm going to jump like this, okay?
Hello. Community is of utmost importance when you're faced with multiple different and difficult problems. Because in the community, you feel like you have a family that you can turn to, you can be with. They can support you as you go through whatever journey you may have ahead. And this community is the most outstanding community I have ever experienced. I had a son who had epilepsy. They accepted him. They never turned away. When he would have seizures in these pews, they would come and help, sometimes carry him out until we got help that was necessary. And recently I lost another son who was very troubled, had a very difficult life. And the community was the most loving, caring, respectful community I have ever been a part of. I left the Catholic religion for exactly the reasons you just spoke to. You had to be this, that, and nothing else. You never developed a community where people knew who you were or what you were feeling, because you weren't free to discuss any of that or to share it. But this community is one of my greatest blessings. My son Raymond called it his family, and that's what it is. The people are marvelous, and I am very grateful to be able to know what it's like to participate in a community.
That required applause, I feel like. What's your name? Joan. Thank you, Joan. This is what I love about these questions. One of the things that, Joan, you jumped ahead. I was going to ask what the beauty of this community is. So into it. I think I'm doing right? We didn't have anyone else in between.
Community is when you lose your way, and our community, I'm just going to state it. Okay. And they show up for you in a way you never thought possible. And they throw you a concert where you remember your dreams and they stand beside you and they lift you up and they love you and love on you and they don't let you fall and they hold you up until your feet get strong enough to stand on your own and take steps and remember who you are and who you are to show up in the world. And that's our community. And they don't let you diminish your light. And they encourage you to shine, and they encourage you to be strong. Even if you don't feel strong, they say you can do it, and they have your back. Our community is that.
I love that. What was your name? Tamira. Thank you, Tamira. Oh, Lenny's got stuff. Okay, give me 1 second, Lenny. Something that, oh gosh, you guys are all inspiring me so much. Something that I was thinking about when Joan, you were speaking about your previous experience in Catholicism and then finding your way here. And this isn't true for all Catholic churches. This might have just been true for yours. Some people just lose their way from community. That you referenced to it as a community, but it was no longer community. I think community requires diversity. And that's a personal opinion. I think it's hard to have good community when it's all the same and when it's uniform. That feels more capitalistic to me, and community is not capitalistic. Let's see here. One of the examples that I came up with, and I'm going to come right back to you, Lenny, I promise. One of the examples that I came up with was everything that was happening in Minneapolis recently, and LA was similar. We really drew together, but something about Minneapolis over the last several years, but especially this year, was just incredibly inspiring, and it touches on Stephen, right? I believe Stephen talked about this. Talked about when we need to resist. It is essential to have community. And I feel like a lot of us are using the term family because we've needed to redefine what family means to us, because some of us have experienced being pushed out completely from our families or ostracized from our families. And so we then say, okay, who is my family? What does family mean? Family means showing up. Family means like holding me up when I feel weak until I can then help hold someone else up. And so community then becomes family to us when we don't have family, right? Or our family is just not quite cutting it, which happens, right? Lenny, I would love to have you share as well.
Well, I think I feel the need to say that I cannot have God without community, and that God exists within this space and, of course, exists everywhere. And as you said, between people, especially in relationship. I just needed to mention the word God.
Everyone feels the Spirit in this moment, right? I feel the Spirit is deeply present in this conversation. And God is not needing us to acknowledge. I mean, it's great when we can say God is here, God is in this space, but God doesn't need that. God knows. God's in our hearts. God is present here in this conversation, in the love that we bring for each other. Who else raised their hand? I saw someone back here. Is that correct? Was I right? Okay.
Community here for me has been very grounding and anchoring. I was a non-compliant family member that left at 17, and I lived in an ashram for 5 years. I always have sought community. And when I moved into this neighborhood, I was pregnant and on bed rest for 5 hours a day. And I lived right down the street on the corner, and I would come over and lay in the pew. And one of the first things I heard was that the children had gone off to help the Hopis with a water project. And part of my study as an artist has been indigenous culture, so I felt an immediate connection. And then when I had my daughter, I wanted her to be part of a community where she would be known, and I had a very erratic childhood and moving a lot. And so this has been, because she's 36 years old now, a place where I still practice my yogic tradition. I still participate in that, and she was raised in both. But I wanted her to know the tradition of Christianity, the stories of Christianity, the kindness of Christianity, and not all of the other accoutrements of Christianity. And so particularly now in this politically hot community of the world, to be able, as she say, that this is a progressive, liberal situation, and I describe it to others as the Church of Social Justice, that it's a community-centered gathering of like-minded people who don't have to think alike and don't have to be alike. And so I've been embraced through many, many hard times, and I really appreciate the people that come and serve.
Linda? Thank you, Linda. I appreciate that. I love that image of you just coming in at like 17 and knowing that you could rest. That's beautiful. Beautiful. All right, next, this is basically the last question, which is our theme. And we have been building to this place, but I want you to dig in deep as you can. What does it mean to build community? And what I'm asking is for you to think outside of these walls. I think it's beautiful because one of the things that church and churches can bring for us is automatically, like something is built in, right? Something is built in almost to the soil, right? Like there are roots, there are people showing up, and we can show up, and we can ask for help, or we can say, how can I serve? Or we can just sit and take in the Spirit. But what does it mean when we need to get outside of these walls? What does it mean when we need to get into our neighborhoods, right? And we need to build something. What does that look like? And if you've been involved in anything like that, dig into those memories and think about what does it mean to build community. Now I'm gonna chat for 2 seconds while you guys think about that. I have just a couple of thoughts, which is building community is a lofty goal. It requires communication, it requires investment of time and resources, it requires love, and it requires you to show up. And eventually it requires you to do something. Being in community means choosing people over profit, which I think is one of the things that is hard when our lives are surrounded by a capitalistic approach in literally every other thing that we do. Our careers, having to fill our gas tanks, everything is capitalistic. How do we get away from that and remember what community is? If someone is hurting, you spoke to this, Lenny. If someone is hurting, even if we disagree with them, we lean in and we ask, what do you need? What do you need? I have one last statement, which is community is sustainability. It's meant to be sustainable. And when something is getting in the way of that, that's what we need to work on in order to continue to build community. All right, who's ready to answer the question? What does it mean to build community, or what does it look like to build community?
So I also come from I consider myself an ex-evangelical, and what I like about how evangelicals work is they really do build community big time, and so they have their Sunday dinners, and so for about 15 years, I've been doing Taco Tuesdays. It's the holiest day of the week at our house, and people are all invited. You're all invited. People know that. You can just call me and say, can I come? And I'll say yes. And we have a core group of about 8 people, and we couldn't be more different. We've got my friend Trong Nguyen, who brings all the fun Vietnamese food. We've got Trisha, her kids. One of her kids is trans, and other one's in high school. I've got my single mama friend who owns horses. And, you know, it's lovely to be intentional because people know it's there. And I've invited some of you, and again, I really do mean this. You could call me, I'm on the phone list, and you can just come on over. But also getting sober 10 years ago here, I found that to be wonderful as well because I can have meetings where from Yale to jail, we're all the same with one common purpose. And so I have a meeting on Saturdays, but once online, but once a month, we do a hybrid, and everybody comes to my house. And I had it yesterday, and I had 8 women at my house. We couldn't be more different. We all have our own understanding of God, which I see God as the space between 2 people, and which also speaks to community. So it's a matter of just trusting God so that you don't overthink yourself, and you say, okay, well, if I'm hurting and lonely, maybe other people are as well. And doing it for fun and for free, that's the main thing, and getting the ego out. I mean, I've had Tuesdays where 20 people have shown and some where none have shown. It's not a big deal. It is what it is. So thanks.
Who's hungry? Now I'm getting hungry. She just kept talking about tacos. I think I have to. One of the things that you touched on was, you know, our shared evangelical background, and I think, like, my dad was a missionary, and my mom was the head of the evangelism team back when women were allowed to head things there. And in evangelical spaces, yes, they're great at teaching you how to do that, and they say to you, like, hey, like, everyone is welcome, until you realize they aren't. Everyone is not welcome, and you must stay in line. And so I'm thankful for that background. I'm thankful for what I learned because I could take it into spaces like this and create community. You mentioned AA, which is also another community that has lasted a good portion of time and is doing great work. My parents refound each other in AA and fell back in love, and it's not necessarily what you're supposed to do, but they did, and they got married and had me and my siblings. So, anybody else? Any examples outside of church that you can think of when it comes to building community and what it looks like?
This is a silly one, but we can all do it. I hike a bit, and when I'm going to the hospitals or whatever, I make sure to say, hi, how are you today? And people sometimes look at me like I'm absolutely nuts. But you know, somehow there is a connection. And it's those little connections that really have wonderful support for everybody. But just to say hi, or let somebody come in and take over at a grocery store, or there are so many little ways to do that. And they're free. And it isn't going to hurt anybody to say hi or hello. Or people are walking from the hospital and their heads are low, and you know they've had a really tough one. And hello, how are you? It makes a difference. It sounds a little silly.
It's not silly. I think it's one of the things that we're having to relearn, especially younger generations, that it's okay to say hello to your neighbor and to ask how they're doing and remember folks and offer, even if it's just a 15-minute conversation, you're sitting there and chatting with someone, you can lift someone's week.
I've had a lot of help on the street from strangers. People have, if my hat flies off into the street, I've had people go and get it. I've had people park their car and go and get the hat for me. And when I drop my phone, I've had people pick it up. And when I wasn't sure where I was going, I've had people get out their phone and tell me where I should go. I've had lots of help on the street. There's a myth that people in LA don't help each other, but it's not true.
Maybe we have enough transplants. No, I'm just joking. It is true. Kindness. Kindness is such a absolute first step to building community. Does anybody, this is just random off the top of my head, but does anyone desire more than what is being brought here? Like, is there something, are you saying, like, thinking, well, you know what, this is inspiring me that I might want to start something? Do we have any starters here? It doesn't mean you have to replace what you have here. I think one of the things that I'm always reminding myself of is that I have a passion for creating community wherever I go. And that if I have community in Woodland Hills, if I have community in Maryland, that's where I grew up, if I have community all around the world in different places, then I'm never alone. And I will always have support, and I will always be able to step in and offer support. And that brings me life. That fills me up. And I think if you're feeling challenged this morning and you're thinking about, what more can I do? Or I feel like I've hit a stopping point or a place that is, maybe you're fulfilled, and that's incredible. But I think if you are feeling like there's more to this building community thing, I think you can easily ask the people who have name tags, some of the folks who end up standing up there on that stage. There are always ways for us to give back into community. And I will tell you, giving back is the best way to feel filled up. But what I'm hearing right now, which was the secret question at the end, which Joan jumped ahead on, and so many of you already have, is what is the beauty of this community? That was the question I was going to ask, and I think you guys have already basically answered that. This community is lovely, and I'll tell you what you've done for me is you've convinced me to come back if you'll have me. So, and I want to encourage you that all community and all of church needs work. All of it does. None of us are ever going to hit a point where we've hit perfection, and I don't think we want to, right? We all should desire growth and work towards that growth by learning and growing from each other, and that's what community is.